Welcome to the BoshNRoll channel. If you want to support my daily Eternal Magic offerings while getting amazing perks like the BoshNRoll Discord community, have me play your deck on the channel, or listen sideboard guides before tournaments, check out the Patreon or YouTube membership program. This channel is possible because of these amazing sponsors. Check them out, all their links are in the video description. As always, thanks for being here. Let's go play some Magic. Welcome back to the BoshNRoll channel. Today, at the request of Patreon subscriber Michael, I am playing Combo Elves, and this has the classic Glimpse of Nature, Heritage Druid, Nettle Sentinel build of this, but there are some unusual decisions made with the list. Over the past 2 years, we've seen the growth and iteration of Newton Elves, which, from Magic Online user Hello Newton, has slowly morphed Elves into a Maverick deck that has a natural order kill in it, and pretty far away from the traditional Glimpse of Nature Elves that we know. This one has done the opposite, and it does not play natural order. You will not find that card in the deck, and it leans really hard on glimpsing early and often, and winning the game when you do it. The combo, if you're uninitiated, is Glimpse of Nature. Whenever you cast a creature spell this turn, draw a card. Heritage Druid, tap 3 Elves for green, green, green. Nettle Sentinel, when you cast a green spell, untap Nettle Sentinel. So you tap Heritage Druid and 2 Nettle Sentinels for green, green, green. You cast some 1-drop. It's a creature, so it draws a card, and it's green, so it untaps Nettle Sentinel. Then you tap that creature and those 2 Nettle Sentinels to make green, green, green. And all of the 1-drops in your deck turn into draw a card, make 2 mana, which is a pretty good rate on a Magic card, I must say. Then you just sort of shred through your deck until you find Craterhoof Behemoth, or a way to put it into play, Zenith or Finale of Devastation. Normally, Natural Order is one of the things you can hit, but this build does not do that. This one stays low to the ground with additional copies of Birchlore Ranger, a card that's frequently played as a 1-of. Tap 2 untap Elves you control, add 1 mana of any color. Kind of a mini Heritage Druid. Still goes off with Nettle Sentinel, just not quite as hard. You could keep a combo going from really low resources, though. Once Upon a Time, find specific pieces quickly. Allosaurus Shepherd makes your squad uncounterable. Really, the only things in this deck that aren't trying to shove a Glimpse of Nature down your opponent's throat are Grist the Hunger Tide and Craterhoof, which are 2, and Endurance, I guess. There are 3 necessary concessions to the fact that your opponent is also playing a deck of Magic cards, and you might need to interact a little bit. But the other 57 cards are built to do exactly one thing, and it's draw a bunch of cards with your Glimpse and then win the game. Leaf Crowned Elder, kind of a backup Glimpse. It's a Lord if you want to be attacking, gives your other Elves +1/+1, and whenever you cast an Elf spell, you can pay a green if you do draw a card. If you get into that Glimpse loop I mentioned, you'll have plenty of green laying around. You could draw 3 or 4 cards off every Elf you cast while making mana. Pretty crazy once you get into the Insano zone there. Things to note about this list: we don't have Natural Order, so we have an additional Finale of Devastation. There's only 1 Craterhoof. Normally lists play 2, because if you draw 1 of the hoofs, you want to be able to Natural Order for the other. But we're not playing Natural Order, so we'll need 8 mana to deploy this thing anyway. The Zenithing for it costs 9, Finaleing for it costs 10, so naturally drawing it is actually the best way to get Craterhoof into play in this deck. If it gets discarded or answered in some way, Finale of Devastation can pull from the graveyard. Endurance can put it back into the deck. There's a little bit of insulation to protect your 1 hoof. The sideboard has some more interaction. Basically everything is an interactive spell or a way to just shut people out of the game. We've got 2 chokes to shut down the blue decks, and then Turn the Earth, which is a card that I've played in Pioneer 1 time, but I've never seen in Legacy. Choose up to 3 target cards in graveyards. The owner of those cards shuffle them into their libraries, and you gain 2 life, and then it has flashback. So kind of graveyard hate, kind of doomsday hate. And I guess in a pinch, you could put some of your own high-impact spells back into your deck. Seeds of Innocence to support the main deck Craterhoof against artifact stuff. Stuff out for removal, Thoughtseize against combo, and I thought we had a Gentle Gamers agreement never to put Plague Engineer into Elves, but here it is. And unlike traditional Zenith versions, Finale of Devastation can get non-green cards, You can tutor for Plague Engineer if you need that. There is no backup monster because we're not a natural order deck. You won't find Progenitus or Archon of Valor's Reach or anything like that in this list because we have no reasonable way to put it into play. Basically all in on Glimpse and Fair Elf Beatdown. Let's do this thing. This is Michael's no natural order combo elves. I'm on the draw in round 1. I have a Llanowar Elf Acceleration start, which is pretty good. That gives me turn 2 Visionary and Birchler Ranger, and then I can tap Elves for more mana. This hand needs to go somewhere, but this is a pretty strong opener. And Elves decks, historically, there's 19 lands in this deck. 2 of them are Dryad Arbor, and 4 of them are Gaia's Cradle. So there's functionally 13 lands in your deck that can make mana on turn 1. I tend to not mulligan very aggressively in decks with 13 lands in them, as long as my hand can play the game. Vault of Whispers. Oh my goodness. Vault of Whispers Thoughtseize. This has to be some sort of Saga Storm deck. I have not even seen this card in play in Legacy in quite some time, but it only really makes sense in the context of someone who wants to cast Dark Ritual and then also support Mox Opal. We might cast Llanowar Elves and die this game. That might be our fate. But because we still have Llanowar Elves, a Zenith off the top lets us grab the main deck Craterhoof, which is the one and only plan here. There's no black cards in the main deck, so I'm just fetching basic forest and letting my opponent, not showing my opponent that I have access to black. There's the Saga. It is interesting they took Elvish Visionary over Llanowar Elves. Kind of makes me think they want to grind a little bit. Come on, Zenith. Alright, Visionary. I'm going to cast Visionary for the draw. I have Cradle. I can still do stuff this turn. Nettle Sentinel, Birchler Ranger. Is this helpful? Should I hide the Cradle? Should I just drop the Lord? Switchclaw Talisman is probably going to kill me. Okay, Cradle. And I think I just want to get the Visionary down, the Leaf Crown Visionary, because that one can start drawing cards next turn, if there is a next turn. I do think Zenith for Oof would have won this game, though. If they pass me the Wishclaw and don't convert it into a win, I get my Oof. So they are on kind of a tight spot here. They Thoughtseize me, saw I was mono green Elves with no interaction, and it's somehow turn 3 and I'm not dead yet, so maybe they don't have it, but they did just untap with Demonic Tutor. We'll see. All I can do is cross my fingers, really. The rest, okay. You will find no purchase here with that. Oh, they're passing the turn. Okay. I'm going to get some looks at Craterhoof or Zenith for it. Come on now. Burian Ranger. But I got to figure out how to sequence this because every mana could matter. And the most important thing going on is that I get to Craterhoof and cast it. I'm going to start with Birchler Ranger. And I am going to pay the green to draw a card. Heritage Druid, that's pretty good. Now I have a choice of tapping Cradle for mana and hoping I draw another Cradle, or using my land drop for the turn to save Cradle, but does that even save Cradle? I think with Heritage Druid, I'm less worried about Cradle. So let's do this thing. Nettle Sentinel, draw a card. Second Nettle Sentinel, okay. I'm going to float a green because I'm about to untap these creatures anyway. Or the important one. Nettle Sentinel, draw a card. And Wirewood Symbiote. And then the Nettle Sentinels. This is the combo Elves life. There we go. Heritage Druid is going to see a bajillion cards this turn. Through Elvish Visionary. Okay, now I'm reasonably likely to find another Cradle somewhere along here. I actually feel like this game is massively favored for me at this point. Just have so much mana. Every creature draws a card, or I guess it's every elf. This is not Glimpse or Wirewood Symbiote, so not quite perfect. Another Wirewood Symbiote drawn. Okay, so I am sort of squeezed on elf. Now I have to play Wirewood Symbiote, bounce another elf before I can keep the party going. Still works basically the same way. just an extra step. Untap Llanowar Elves by picking up Elvish Visionary. I'm going to leave Llanowar Elf untapped because that one is good for its own mana. Found a Shepherd. That's a win condition if I can attack with 3 creatures, which I can. I'll just keep drawing some cards, but I think the game is already over here. I can float 3, play Symbiote, untap Leaf Crown Visionary. I'll have 6 available, and I can overrun. Alright, that's there if I want it, but I'm going to keep comboing, because this is what we're doing here. I think I want to save Once Upon a Time, and go with Symbiote first. Symbiote will untap the creature that can attack, picking up Visionary. It's going to make 1 green off of these Nettle Sentinels here. Leave my attackers untapped. For another Visionary, and there's Zenith. Okay, I can just Zenith for Hoof now, and I don't have to show them anything else. It might take me a second to get there, but this is available. And I'm greedy, so I'm going to keep drawing cards, even though I could just float them in and win the game. I have drawn a lot of lands in this iteration. Luckily, it just doesn't matter. This Leaf Crown Visionary has been insane. I've seen this in Elves decks, but I haven't actually played with it myself yet, and it's completely nutters. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hoof is ultra lethal here. 5, 6, 7, 8, and I can tap the Llanowar Elves. I still have my land drop as well. Do I want to use that? Yeah, I think having extra attacker is fine. Touch. And then Zenith for 8. Craterhoof Behemoth, get in there. This is 4 attackers attacking for roughly 1 gajillion. Okay. One way to beat a combo deck is to combo first. They're at negative 52, and that works. It's Saga Storm. Thoughtseize is coming in. Seas of Innocence probably comes in just to stabilize against the Saga half of the plan. Wrist does not seem important. Craterhoof is my best card. Finales and Zeniths, they get Craterhoof. That's what that's about. I don't know if I need to Endurance this deck, so I'm just going to assume I don't. Maybe I do want Grist if they have any number of Plague Engineers in their sideboard in their Dark Ritual deck. I don't know if it's a thing they're going to do, but I'm going to respect it. See my Once Upon a Times, and I think a Wirewood Symbiote gets cut. The Wirewood Symbiote plus Elvish Visionary draw engine is one of the best things about the Elves deck for fair matchups, but in unfair matchups it can be kind of clunky. I'll cut 1 of each of those. Yeah, that seems fine. Let's do it. Oh no, the oof is in my hand against this deck full of Thoughtseizes. I would prefer it safely in my deck, but I'm not going to mulligan this hand. Having Thoughtseize, Boseiju, and Craterhoof in my opener is kind of nutty. Please arrest me. Yeah, okay, they're going to take Thoughtseize, but this can't take the oof. Uh-oh, Lotus Petal. Are they just going off here? Looks like it. That's a lot of artifacts. And they're passing the turn. Okay, Thoughtseize off the top. Take their payoff. Virtual Lore Ranger. I'm going to Zenith for a Dryad Arbor. Just advance my mana situation. And hope I get a turn, which does not seem that likely. Urza Saga go? Urza Saga go? That's a Vault of Whispers. Terrifying. Infernal Tutor with 1 card in hand, with 0 cards in hand. So they're just going to rip off an Ad Nauseam here. Yep. Alrighty. Let's find out who's dead. I'm just fully F6'd here. I'm not going to pretend I can do anything. Just got to look at this deck. Lots of Duresses, Feed the Swarm, Dark Ritual, Cut Down, Burning Wish. This looks super lethal. I'll just let them storm out here and enjoy their time playing Magic the Gathering. Bunch of Dark Rituals, get Duress, yeah. Just checking for Mindbreak Trap on the way through. Opal makes red for Burning Wish. There's a Tendrils in there somewhere. Plenty of mana to cast it. So I win this game on the play. I Thoughtseize their win con, let them Duress me, then cast Oof. There's the Wish. There's the Tendrils. Okay, cool. Took turns just throwing fastballs down the middle. Now I get to go first. I didn't see anything that would incentivize endurance or snuff out, or I mean, they're a mono black deck. I'm probably not going to snuff anything out. Do I want Once Upon a Time as more looks for Craterhoof? Is that better than Elvish Visionary? And we just saw how fast this deck can actually go. And maybe I'm going to cut another Symbiote and Visionary. Just cut down the Best Friends crew and get more redundancy and velocity in my deck. Thoughtseize with no real follow-up here. Is Thoughtseize good enough to buy me room to play this game? Maybe. Sucks that I both Dryad Arbors. Yuck. Okay, I'm not going to mulligan a hand with Thoughtseize on the play and the ability to cast it. Silver lining is there's no specific great target for Duress or Thoughtseize in their hand. I'm going to strip this Burning Wish, let them Thoughtseize me, and then they have a handful of mana, and they need to go somewhere with it. Swamp, Bobble, bobbling the top of my deck. You do that before you Thoughtseize, so you have complete information when you make your Thoughtseize selection. You probably take Heritage Druid would be my guess. That's just the one that threatens the most action. Oh, Allosaur Shepherd. Interesting. Oh no. Dumping out the LEDs? Are we just playing around Thoughtseize, or do you have an actual payoff for this? Okay, just playing around Thoughtseize, and they know the top of my deck, so am I drawing Thoughtseize? Not. Okay. Oh, that's why they didn't take Heritage Druid. They knew I was drawing another one. Okay, here we go. The board is starting to come together. I need to find something before they find something. Shadow Spear, not helpful. A thing that I love about Elves is it's kind of like a Storm deck if you have Young Pyromancer in play all the time. And what I mean by that is my opponent has cast some spells, but all they have is like random objects laying in play. I've cast some spells and I can attack for 2. This Boseiju is pretty spicy. I hope I don't need it yet, because I'm not going to play it this turn. I'm going to play Heritage Druid and attack for 2. Any damage I can do against this Ad Nauseam deck is a step in the right direction. I can play Grist next turn and start putting insects into play. I'd rather draw Zenith than just oof them out. Oh no. They found a payoff. You don't just Dark Ritual for fun. Okay, they can Nause here. They could Peer here also. They're going all the way in. Double LED. Nause it is. Okay. We needed to fade a tutor until we figured out what we were doing, and they found a tutor. So here we go. Bunch of 0 mana. Artifact, or mana enablers, tendrils just naturally in the hand, plenty of Storm to kill me here. I'm not going to concede until they stop nausing, just in case they go crazy. Alright. They have plenty to do here. Tough matchup. I did what I was supposed to do, punch a hole, slow them down, start to build out, and didn't pay off quite in time. It's basically Craterhoof or bust, and it did not show up in time. GG, on to the next one. This video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, the easiest way to build Magic decks online. Moxfield supports over 30 formats, including Legacy and everything else you'll see on this channel. There's multiple customizations so you can interact with your deck how you want. Views such as text, grid, or stacks, and groupings like type, subtype, color, color identity, even artist. The site offers light mode, dark mode, and so much more. However you want to see your deck, Moxfield can provide it for you. Follow my Moxfield to keep up with the channel and what I'm playing in paper. I'll see you there. On the draw for round 2. Like I said, I'm not in the business of mulliganing hands with lands and things to cast with them in this deck. This hand's pretty solid too. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay, the Delver test. Okay, draw for turn, play my land to play around days, fire off a Once Upon a Time. Unfortunately, there's no stack tricks where I can like hold priority and fire off both Once Upon a Times. Just not how that card works. You only get one. Endurance. Right here in my hand. That's interesting. The basic forest is probably what I need to do though. Yeah, this Dryad Arbor against the deck with Wasteland and Lightning Bolt is just such a garbage card to have in your hand. I'm going to take the basic forest and just make sure I can keep playing this game after this turn. Gonna sniff out a lightning bolt and blank their counter spells in the interim. Brainstorm. They're looking for it. Delver to the bin. Get rid of it. Mystic Sanctuary tapped. Did not attack with TRC. I probably would have offered that trade if I had anything else going on in life. Kind of telling. Okay, here I can play Quirion Ranger and Heritage Druid and then Finale for 1. If I want to go in that deep, I could also just, once upon a time, look for the next thing. Craterhoof, just put a body into play. Once upon a time's an instant, but if I don't cast it now, they could bolt and daze on their turn. Yeah, I think or they can't daze. I have an extra green kicking around. If I finale here, it would be for Wirewood Symbiote. Yeah, I'm not excited about that. I'm going to Once Upon a Time. With the 1 mana left over, I could even still cast a card this turn. Would I rather have Nettle Sentinel or Gaia's Cradle available to me? I think Sentinel. In you go. Cool. That was a fun turn. They were not able to shuffle their Brainstorm last turn, or chose not to, and they didn't bolt my creature last turn. Came up with a Lightning Bolt. Going after Shepherd makes some sense. Getting a Predict. And the finale for Wirewood Symbiote would have protected Shepherd, if I believe that's the most important thing that's happening in the game. Okay, finale can be bigger this turn. I don't know that I want to be finaleing for Endurance. Grist is pretty good. I could also just attack with Nettle Sentinel, see what happens. I think I want to get my attack for 2 in. I think they're pretty clearly Brainstorm locked. I mean, they're through it now. They just milled a card, but the way that they sequence their lands tells me that they're not super interactive here. And then Ranger untaps Nettle Sentinel. And I can only finale for 2. Or no, I can pick up my Forest, replay it. And that would give me 3. But that plays into Daze. I don't think I want to just put the Oof into play. Could get the Leaf Crown Viz. That's a great Lightning Bolt target, which is either good or bad. I really don't want to get dazed this turn. Maybe I just go Elvish Visionary. And I am going to play around Daze rather than play Dryad Arbor as my land. And I'm going to finale for 2. I could finale for 1, get another Shepherd, and then play Craterhoof. If I was doing that, I wish I hadn't bounced my land already. I'm going to go for 2. They're just forcing this. Exiling Daze. Glad I played around that. Build a Pyroblast. Yeah, good call. You're not going to need that here. And then I can still play this Craterhoof. Might as well put this 2/2 into play. It's not doing anything in my hand. Or that's not true. If I draw a Glimpse of Nature, I might wish I had a creature in my hand. But this 2/2 on the board is relevant right now. Murktide Regent. Okay. This makes the Dragon's Rage Channeler never delirious. But it does kill me pretty quickly. Elvish Viz. Okay, I like that one. My creatures are not attacking this turn, so I'm going to use them for mana rather than my lands. Redraw. Let's find a Symbiote and go off here. Oh my god. Alright. Make 3 more mana. Symbiote. Please don't Force of Will this. Ah, they had the Force. And they knew to use it. Pitching another Daze. Yeah, that draw engine could reasonably win the game in short order. It was a good one to stop. And I'll play Dryad Arbor as my land for turn, and I'm all in here. I will pass the turn. If they don't get Delirium, I can start bashing into and around this Dragon's Rage Channeler. If they attack with Murktide, I can crack back for just as much. But they do have the first turn here. Wasteland. I just untap a creature by picking up this Forest. It does take the Forest out of play for the turn, but it's not dead. 3 card types with 1 card left in their hand. Lightning Bolt targeting Heritage Druid. Please don't get Delirium here. Okay, they did not achieve Delirium. Attack me for 8. And I attack you back. Attack with all creatures. No blocks. They're at 9. Quirion Ranger, untap. Nettle Sentinel, I guess, because that doesn't... Oh, I need to flow mana first. Can't blow that one. Oh wait, if I play Birchler Ranger, that untaps Nettle Sentinel. And then I can get... I wanted to morph Birchler Ranger, but is having an extra 1/1 better? Having a 2/2. This also gives me multiple 1/1s. Yeah, I'm just casting Birchler Ranger on the front. Gives me this untap for free. Dryad Arbor. Yeah, they took enough creatures out of play last turn for me that I'm not winning this race. I'm dead to Bolt, dead to Delirium, dead to a second Murktide. Oh, there's Bolt, yeah, straight upstairs. Get Delirium off at 2, why not? They did not get Delirium off at 2, but I am dead for Xaxes. None of my creatures have Secret Reach. That was a solid draw. A sideboarding. This is where the Endurances and Snuffouts come in, and the Chokes. And we're just going to do our best to turn into Newton Elves. Plague Engineer on human does affect their board. I'll see how much space I have for this sort of thing. Oof comes out. Once Upon a Time's come out. We're in kind of an awkward situation here because this is the matchup where I would rely the most on Natural Order. Because Glimpse of Nature requires you to have some amount of mana in play, resolve your Glimpse, and then resolve a bunch of creatures. Then once your creatures are in play, your creatures are your engine for the Heritage Druid thing, which Lightning Bolt collapses. Everything that Delver does makes Glimpse worse. And this is a matchup where I would normally be shaving these sorts of cards and even Glimpses themselves because they're not as reliable, but that is the only plan the deck has, which I guess is why I'm boarding in 9 cards to support an alternate plan here. Grist, phenomenal here. Endurance, phenomenal. Leaf Crown Viz seems fine. Allosaur Shepherd seems amazing. I'm going to go down to 1 Heritage Druid to Zenith for if it becomes appropriate, but I think in general it will not be appropriate. Okay, grindy, fair, black-green cards that can sometimes cast Glimpse of Nature. Not entirely beautiful here. The Hoof in my opener, I don't love. Plague Engineer is a black card against the Wasteland deck. I'm going to keep this though. Quirion Ranger plus land is a combo. I'm going to fetch a basic. And now I have to decide if I want to start with Quirion Ranger and try to Glimpse for 1 card next turn, or start with Shepherd and make sure Glimpse resolves. I think I want to start with Ranger. Ranger is worse against Lightning Bolt. Misty Rainforest. Uh-oh, there's a red in the pool. Chain Lightning, bummer. Okay, let's draw a land. That taps for mana. No love. I can get Symbiote down. I think I'd rather go with Shepherd now, because I'm exposed to Daze. This is looking bad. Ponder, okay. Scalding Tarn. They did shuffle this Ponder. And Delver. Okay. A land that taps for mana here does give me Glimpse plus a card draw, or just puts Visionary into play. I can protect Shepherd from future removal, or invest in Nettle Sentinel. I think I'm going to Symbiote here. Just playing on 1 land versus the Daze deck, I'm not excited about, so I'll try to just protect my Shepherd where I can. Delver flips, revealing Ponder. There goes Ponder. Wasteland. Good luck with that. I don't even have any lands. Sucker. They chose to shuffle that Ponder, by the way. Finale of Devastation. I am a Finale of Devastation right now with the lack of mana to play this game with. But I am poking for damage. And I have not passed a turn without casting a spell yet. I'll at least take that small victory. They can do the Bolt Your Shepherd, counter your creature combo now. They have the mana up to do that. Oh, I will not pay the 1. And Nettle Sentinel comes into play. You'll love to see it. They're probably setting up a Murktide Regent. I don't believe for a second that they just oopsed that. Magic Online makes it very clear when a spell is uncounterable. It literally says the spell is uncounterable when it's on the stack. It would be hard to miss that. Ponder did not shuffle this time. Finds the second blue source. And there's the Murktide Regent. Okay, yep. That makes sense. In paper, I might have believed my opponent just messed up, but not on Magic Online. It just helps you play too much. Really hard to make those sort of errors. Oh my god. Okay. Well, let's party. Start with a Glimpse of Nature, and then play Elvish Visionary and see where we go. This cannot be countered. Glimpse of Nature. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to finale for 1 first and get Heritage Druid. Yeah, that's the way to go here. If I start with Visionary, that just doesn't necessarily even do anything. The Heritage Druid, that's why we leave 1 in case we have moments like this. Okay, please deck. I get to draw 2 cards here with a mana floating. An Elf keeps the party going. Land. Visionary. Choke. Okay, I can bounce an Elf and replay an Elf here. So I can keep the party going. Wirewood Symbiote. Untap Allosaurus Shepherd by bouncing Heritage Druid. This is the one that results in 3 untapped Elves. Oh, but if Heritage Druid's in my hand, hold up. Oh, I have to use my floating mana to recast it. Yeah, I have to bounce a 1-drop here. I'll bounce the Heritage Druid. Heritage Druid draws a card. Wasting my Cradle in response. Absolutely don't care about that. Snuff out. I don't control a swamp. And I can play an uncounterable choke here, but I'm going to be at 4 because I can't snuff. Yeah, not having a swamp available here is going to kill me. I take 11, go to 2. I guess I could probably hardcast the snuff out next turn, but the Delver still has me mostly dead zoes. I have to do what? Draw another Cradle and shove this hoof? That's what I need to do, yep. Okay, I'm at 2. And draw Cradle. Second choke. I don't think this helps. Is there a possible redraw here? If I make 3 with Druid and then replay Visionary, that's another look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not close to hoofing here. Yeah, I need a Cradle. 1, 2, 3. Wirewood Symbiote, untap Heritage Druid by picking up Elvish Visionary. This is +1 mana. +1 mana, +1 card. Better be a good one. Guy's Cradle. Cradle. Plague Engineer. Okay. There's only 1 Snuff Out in my hand, and only 1 source of black mana. If I could snuff out 4 mana and then cast both Plague Engineers and name Human, that would actually stabilize the board, but these are not green spells, so all their counter spells are on, and I'm not going to get here with what we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could activate Craterhoof, or activate Allosaurus Shepherd and attack them to 9, and then they win. Okay, they got me. Stuck on 1 land a little too long there. We had a real shot at it, though. We had a shot to go off with Glimpse last turn, and then we had a shot to draw a Cradle this turn. And if they didn't have that Wasteland, we would have had Cradle. So, considering how awful this game went, we still had multiple, not too distant alternate timelines where we win this game. But this, like I said in sideboarding, this is a matchup where I desperately want access to Natural Order, and I don't want to have to Glimpse because you're frequently playing on tight resources like we saw here. On to the next one. You come here to level up at Magic. To level up as a software engineer, check out the new YouTube series Dev Better, hosted by the founder of 7 Factor Software and Magic player Jeremy Duvall. 7 Factor's small teams of high-performing engineers build custom mobile apps, APIs, and highly scalable systems for Fortune 500 companies and ambitious startups with great ideas. If you'd like to hire 7 Factor, or maybe join their team, contact them through their website at 7factor.io. And don't forget to subscribe to 7 Factor's YouTube for every episode of Dev Better. I'm on the draw again for round 3. I'm going to keep my hand. It's got some cards in it and lands to cast them. It would be sick if this was Storm again. I'm ready this time. Blooded Strand. Basic Island and Ponder. Great start. I love their deck already. Did not shuffle. And I am going to lead on Llanowar Elf and save my Shepherd for later. I don't think they're going to Force of Will a Llanowar Elf on turn 1. And if they have a Swords to Plowshares, I would rather the Shepherd survive later. And if they have none of it, I would rather have more mana to start my next turn with. Stoneforge Mystic. Yikes. Usually Jitte is not in main decks anymore. Let's hope that's still true. Valdra. I mean, that is a race that we have to race. Cradle. I'm happy to see you. What can I do with this? I could play Heritage Druid and Quirion Ranger and Craterhoof. Now I'm going to start with Heritage Druid, because then if they have days, I can pay for it. Craterhoof. I'm hiding the Shepherd, because what I want to do next turn is play Shepherd, activate, and immediately crack you for lethal. Sometimes Stoneforge decks have Wasteland, sometimes they don't. We're going to find out soon, but I have lined up my plan to win this game. Oh no, they're leaving the Cauldron back. I hate it. Elvish Viz. Okay. How do I sequence this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 creatures. If I play Shepherd, didn't really budget for this. I would like the redraw though. Yeah, I'm going to start with Elvish Visionary and see where this goes. Viz draws Catacombs. I can play Shepherd and activate it here. I would lose a creature, but get in for a lot. Yeah, I'm going to play Shepherd. And I can use Ranger to untap Llanowar Elves. They can't Swords to Plowshares and Cauldron here. Cauldron can absorb some damage, but I'm coming for you. Pick up my Bayou to untap Llanowar Elves. Then attack with all my creatures. Right click, attack all. Here they come. Here comes Cauldron to absorb some damage. Probably block Llanowar Elf. I think that's my best individual elf since I have 2 Heritage Druids. If they block Oof, they lose. Quirion Ranger, reasonable decision. Activate. First strike damage kills my Quirion Ranger. Regular strike damage puts them to 2. And pass the turn. Even if they kill my Shepherd now, my attack is good for 2 damage around all their creatures. Let's the Plowshares. That, yep. Knew that was possible. No, second white source. Quirion Ranger. Okay, attack with all my creatures. This is what I'm here to do. If they have Snapcaster Mage, they still lose. Here they come. Hell yeah. Elf's business. Yeah, that was an example of the your storm, but you always have Young Pyromancer in play. Play pattern. Joke seems great. Snuff Out seems good. I don't think I want to Thoughtseize them. Durance doesn't seem important. First could be reasonable. Collector Oof against a Stoneforge deck. If they have Jitte, I think I want to control that in other ways, because Oof doesn't affect Cauldron meaningfully, and if it affects Batterskull, then the game is already off the rails. Shepherd's great. Glimpse is great. Maybe it's just Once Upon a Times. Replacing the generic main deck filler for targeted cards for the matchup. I accept that logic. If you've watched my channel before, you know that when I'm on those fair blue decks, I'm always so bummed to see Elves. Matchup is tough. Ponder, Island Ponder. Good start. At Magic 30, or Magic Con, whatever they're called, in Minneapolis, both Mark Tadine and Dan Scott were both there. Those are the 2 artists for the 2 different Ponders. And I thought about getting signed Ponder prints from each of them. Turns out Mark Tadine is wildly popular, and I did not want to spend 3 hours in line to buy a print. Luckily, the internet exists, and I suspect these gentlemen have websites, so maybe someday I'll do it anyway. I'm going to start with Quirion Ranger, because once again, I don't think they're going to Force a Will on turn 1, and as a Lightning Rod for removal, I want to protect my Shepherd. Arid Mesa, wow, what year is it? I hated when we had to play that card in Blue-Eye control decks. Prismatic Vista mostly replaced it. Okay, I can spend a turn investing in some creatures and try to have a big glimpse next turn. Next turn is it Staticaster or Kozilek's Return? Turn. Are they just gonna Containment Priest me and eat me in combat right now? That would be a bummer. Oh yeah, good one. Okay. BTFO'd there. Probably should have played Symbiote pre-combat. The good news is, my deck does not play Natural Order. Its Priest still stops Zeniths for the most part. I can get Grist. But if my plan is glimpsing, this is pretty solid. Words to Plowshares targeting that one resolves. I'm not going to bounce the other one on spec. Then they end up getting both creatures out of play. Priest gets in. You got it. Going for Glimpse next turn. It's time. Ponder. Well, I'm going for Glimpse if I untap with a creature in play. I don't know. I'll have to assess my draw step if they find a plow here. Did not shuffle. Hate that. Oh. Can I do both? I could just spend 3 mana on Choke right now in an uncounterable fashion. Yep. Done deal. We can glimpse later when my opponent is already out of the game. If they have the Plow plus Force combo, they can answer this. It's going to cost them 3 of the 4 cards in their hand, and then I can try to glimpse next turn. Fetching in response. Getting a Tundra. Okay. There's the Plow. There's the Force. Okay, they did have all of it. They pitched Supreme Verdict to make that happen. I'm still sitting on a Glimpse of Nature and some creatures I can play. Narset. No! Oh my god. Yeah, that was a pretty good follow-up. Alright, we probably lose now. Prismatic Ending. I'm in trouble. Burden Catacombs. Wirewood Symbiote. Nettle Sentinel. Notably, I cannot fetch Dryad Arbor because Containment Priest is in play. Priest exiles any creature that wasn't cast, and you cannot cast a Dryad Arbor. There is no way in Magic the Gathering, as far as I'm aware, to put a Dryad Arbor into play with Containment Priest around. Maybe Blood Moon turns it off. I don't know. It would take some crazy like corner case, but you can't play it from your hand. You can't tutor for it. And that follow-up Narset into tutoring up 2 removal spells was certainly a way to go. Ending has occurred. Plow has occurred. A Grist is a good draw for me. I'm going to fetch a Bayou now. Don't want to draw that. Another Bayou. Okay, now Zenith for Grist is online. Checking that Grist is still in my deck. It is. Cool. A new Narset. Good. And Choke is still a hammer for the matchup. Grist still plays here. Any 2/2 or 2-power creature that can contend with Containment Priest keeps the wheels on, but they did just find another Swords of Plowshares. Come on, Grist. Wirewood Symbiote. Do I even play this? I don't think so. Not into that face-up Swords of Plowshares. I have some time. They're only attacking for 2s. They're casting a spell. What Days Undoing? Sure. In my hand already functioned as 1 card and it resolves. And Wirewood Symbiote. I'm good. That was a solid sequence of cards that my opponent presented to me. Do I want Thoughtseize? Don't think that I do. We've now seen Days Undoing, Supreme Verdict, Containment Priest. I have the Snuffs in. I have the Grist in. I have the Chokes in. All those things that are supposed to be here. Could bring in Endurance just as a medium-sized body that can attack Narset. Don't think I want to do that, though. Just going with the same deck. This is a good one. I'm going to keep it. 2 Shepherds, which means I want to lead on one of them. Try to draw out the 8. And I have Birchler plus Nettle Sentinel, which can dump out my whole hand on turn 2. Opponent's on 6, and I'm starting with a Shep. Shout out to Card Hoarder for sending me the buff Raptor Jesus version of Allosaurus Shepherd for this deck. Prismatic Ending resolves. Okay, my plan here is to deploy my whole hand. Let's see if it works. Nettle Sentinel, go in. Basic Forest. Birchler Ranger, go in. They would need to Force of Will this to stop my whole hand from being in play. They're thinking about it. There was a pause there. Oh, the window to Force of Will is passed. I don't even know if dumping out my whole hand here is good, but it certainly stabilizes versus Narset as a follow-up. You can at least pressure Planeswalkers if my day gets undone. My hand's already empty. Another prismatic ending on Allosaurus Shepherd. Okay. They already showed me that hesitation thinking about a counterspell last turn. They did not shuffle. I need a follow-up. I need like Grist or something. That wasn't Grist. Attack for 4 and play Llanowar Elves. This is a recipe to lose to Supreme Verdict without getting over the finish line, but it's currently what I have available. And I'm not playing Boseiju as my land. It might come in handy, so I'll pick up a forest, untap a thing that's a free interaction. Uh-oh, red mana. Stoneforge Mystic. Sure. Well, Boseiju answers non-Kaldra objects out of this deck. Honestly, Game 1 felt so long ago, and we got Narset Undoing in Game 2. I literally forgot this was that same Stoneforge deck we already played against. Oh, that's an insane draw. Okay, Wirewood Symbiote comes into play. This means I can attack with all my creatures instead of just Nettle Sentinel. Yeah, Wirewood Symbiote on the board represents so much damage in these sort of situations. Attack with everything. Symbiote, untap, Birchler Rangers, pick up the Llanowar Elves that they blocked. It's 2 extra damage. And then Llanowar Elves get on the stack. And I still have a land drop, so Quirion Ranger, untap yourself, pick up Bayou, play the land. Ready to Boseiju. If they just Supreme Verdict instead, I'm in trouble. Can't Supreme Verdict with this mana. Alright, I'm hoping they go Jitte, equip, attack, but Symbiote doesn't even make that a good attack. Passing. This could be Snapcaster, could be Containment Priest. They could Stoneforge in a different thing. That makes it a little easier. Black, green, untap Llanowar Elves, pick up Bayou. Bayou, Grist. Can I have Grist? If they force this, that's 2 cards out of their hand, and only 1 left I have to think about. Force pitching Force. Cool. Okay. Jitte 1 mystery card in hand. I have my Symbiote untap left. And I have Birchler Ranger mana. Okay, here comes these 3. I actually want to leave Llanowar Elves in play this time and hope that they don't have Kaldra right now, because that would probably destroy me. Oh no. Okay, Priest. Priest is fine. They get to eat one of my creatures in combat, but at least now we know all their tricks. I held back the most important elf. And between Quirion Ranger and Birchler Ranger, I think I would rather have Quirion still available. Untap Birchler. It doesn't matter. They're all either dying or getting untapped anyway. Pick up Quirion. Push for 2. I now have full information about their life and situation. I already played my 2nd land this turn. Quirion Ranger, get in there. And I can Boseiju by floating green, picking up a forest, and zapping the Jitte. I can also just use Wirewood Symbiote to blank Jitte, so I'm not really worried about this card right now. I need them not to draw some Alder Banger. There's that. Equipping it to Stoneforge, please attack, oh my god. Okay, they are attacking. I get to block with Nettle Sentinel, because they attacked with their 1-2, rather than their 2-2. Green, untap this, bounce, Forest, green, Boseiju, the Jitte. This does give them their 2nd white, which they were missing for Supreme Verdict, but they also lose their Stoneforge and their Jitte in the same combat step. I still have my Symbiote up if they plow in combat. Oh, their creature is simply dead. That's great. Joke. Hello. Here's that forest. And I can attack with Ranger and Sentinel, pick up Ranger, then shove Choke. Is that different than just attacking with Sentinel? I'm just going to attack with Sentinel. This way I don't have to bounce around with the Quirion Ranger. I can just make the attack that's probably going to work anyway. Let's skip the middleman. And here's the Choke. The biggest eye-rolling BS of any blue wizard ever. They can still cast their removal spells. If they have a Kozilek's Return, they can cast that, but they're done cantripping into anything. They pass the turn. Scalding Tarn. They could Supreme Verdict here, but it would cost them another blue land. They could Prismatic Ending here. If that's the one card in your hand, that would be pretty annoying. But I get to push for damage for another turn. Okay. Emergency Ponder. Stone Raining yourself to get another look. Shuffled the Ponder. That's what we like to see. Verdant Catacombs. Not currently helpful. The thing that could punish a triple attack here is a second Containment Priest. And I'm just going to leverage my advantage right now because I have the bounce redeploy option available to push 1 extra damage, put them on a 2-turn clock instead of 3. Do I want to just trade with this thing? I think I do. Yeah, I'm not even going to save my Sentinel. Just take 2, and now I can fetch Dryad Arbor and attack with the Wirewood Symbiote. Okay, you're still dead on board. The 2-turn clock either way. End of turn fetch. Even if they do have Kozilek's Return, which is the best thing they could have here, I can pick up an elf and a forest, then just have 2 power in play for next turn. Okay, here we go. Do you have another surprise blocker? Do you have a Swords to Plowshares to buy you 1 turn? What are we playing 2 here? Nope, just dead for Exaxes. Cool. On the board, 2 scrappy wins. We didn't go off with Glimpse in either of our games. We just dumped out our hand and got over the finish line for 20 damage. Not bad. Next round. The Command Tower software by Eminence Gaming is perfect for hosting TCG events. It features easy-to-create event registration for 1v1 and 4-player Swiss structured tournaments. Event management has never been so simple, and it's web-based, so there's no download required. Get access for just $5 at eminence.event/subscribe. I am on the play, and I have a choice here of letting Once Upon a Time find my first land drop, or just not playing this game at all. And I think this is one of the reasons Once Upon a Time is in the deck. Like I said, there are 13 functional mana sources on turn 1, and please work. Misty Rainforest, this is sort of a forced choice here. Misty, fetch, get basic forest, play Quirion Ranger, and off we go. Or maybe I start with a Shepherd here. Yeah, I have 2 of those and only 1 Ranger. And this is a scary thing that invalidates some amount of the format. An island. I like that when I started with Allosaurus Shepherd. Goes to shuffle. Cool. Okay. Heritage D. I could go Quirion Ranger, Cradle, Heritage Druid, Zenith for 2. I could go Quirion Ranger, Leaf Crowned Elder, attack for 2. Quirion Ranger, Leaf Crowned Elder, Heritage Druid, Zenith for something. I'm going to go Quirion Ranger, Leaf Crowned Elder. Yeah, I'm going to go Leaf Crowned Elder, attack for 2, and set up for next turn. I think that's what I want to be doing here. Rather than doing more mediocre stuff this turn, I want to just set up for an insane next turn. Preordain. Oh, you're a combo deck. I could just add a Show and Tell right now. That would be anticlimactic. Top bottomed. Ancient Tomb confirmed. Okay, how do I beat Show and Tell now? I can't counter my spells. Can I get myself up to Hoof? That's a good start. Knowing that this is a fast matchup now, not a slow one, I wish I had played Druid last turn. But how do I get away with this now? Okay, start with Heritage Druid. I'm just not going to draw extra cards. Ugh, I didn't like saying that sentence out loud. Heritage Druid. Get in there. 1, 2, 3. That'll Sentinel get in here. Can I afford to draw extra cards now? I'll have 5. And so I'd like another card, please. And then if I play Allosaurus Shepherd here, I don't draw another card. Well, Sentinel untaps. Oh, it was already untapped. I have an untap with Query and Ranger. I can go 1, 2, 3 with Shepherd. This one, can I draw another card? I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana right now. Shepherd will untap Sentinel. Oh, maybe I just Zenith now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I untap one other attacker. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Wait, in that case, Shepherd is free. Yeah, that's 2 extra damage for free. I just don't draw a card because I haven't tapped my Cradle yet. Okay, there we go. Still 9, and Craterhoof triggers for +1 on my 2 attacking creatures. Okay, Racing Show and Tell. That's what we got to do. 4 Thoughtseizes coming into my deck, and I don't think I want Choke. I don't know that we're going to play that long of a game. I just think I want to go as fast as possible with the Thoughtseizes in the deck. Craterhoof and Endurance don't really matter. Wrist is one potential out to a resolved Griselbrand or Emrakul. Much better against Emrakul than it is against Griselbrand. But I guess I should leave Grist in, just as an emergency button. And the Symbiote Visionary Best Friends grew a little slow for this. In I go. This hand kind of sucks. Yeah, no... I mean, Boseiju could disrupt a Sneak Attack or an Omniscience, but I'm not keeping a hand on the strength of Boseiju in a Glimpse hand with no creatures. Mulligan. Here we go. Keep this one. Bottom, Glimpse. I can Thoughtseize, then try to punch some space to Shepherd, Glimpse. Ponder, go for it. Goes to Shuffle. Good. That means they're not hiding anything on top of their deck. They're not in control of where any other cards are right now. That gives me the highest value Thoughtseize that I can get. Value, tell me about your thoughts. Like to seize them. Daze, okay. Well, that is a Daze out of your hand and a land out of your play. In a deck that can turn to me with some reliability, I'm not really in the business of playing around Daze, and I'm getting turn 2 through the Daze anyway. Well, Show and Tell resolves. I'm going to put in Misty Rainforest and hope I'm not dead. Griselbrand, probably dead. Well, I mean, Griselbrand Shepherd makes Glimpse uncounterable, but that means I have to Shepherd before I Glimpse, which I don't want to do. Alright. I'll draw my card for turn and hope it's Cradle. It's Thoughtseize. Not super helpful, honestly. A Shepherd, Glimpse. I get 1 draw here, and if I draw a 1-drop, I can cast it off Rangers. I can also Thoughtseize off of Rangers if I miss here. Not that that's important pre-Grizzle activation. Yeah, I'm going to save it for post-Grizzle. I might not even get another turn here. Drawing this Glimpse was tough. Draw 7. Deal 7 to me. Really all they got to do here is not be dead in 2 turns. They have another Show and Tell. Don't even have a permanent to put in play this time. Respectfully decline. Cool. Okay. Okay, so drawing a 1-drop is where this party begins. If I can Glimpse and get something going. Tough crowd. Glimpse. Or Once Upon a Time, not Glimpse. Nettle Sentinel could keep the party going. Can it even, though? No, because I have to tap my Elves to even start it. I would have to draw a land and an Elf off of this next draw step, which is not possible, it turns out, because 1 is a smaller number than 2. I'll concede the game. Okay, so they had a turn 2 protected by Daze. You're not going to win those ones. Right back in with the deck that I have. Let's make it happen. So this one does not have Disruption. It doesn't have Glimpse. It's not even that fast. The Llanowar Elves into double Cradle represents a lot of mana, but this doesn't actually do anything. Gotta send it. Okay, this is a similar hand that contains Glimpse of Nature instead of not containing Glimpse of Nature. I will keep this one with the understanding that I might just die. Put forest on the bottom. This might be a situation where rather than Llanowar Elves, I fetch for Dryad Arbor on turn 1, because that represents 2 mana with Cradle. Is not something I ever want to do in a game of Magic. But in this spot against this matchup, I think there's some reasonable position to do it. Ponder. Did not shuffle. Oh no, are we going on turn 1? Fetch, Dryad Arbor, draw Thoughtseize, set up a turn 3 win. That's my plan. Draw Thoughtseize. Shit. Okay, I can play Glimpse, draw 1 card, or try to draw multiple cards next turn without any guarantee that there will be a next turn. I think I'm going to play Cradle, attack for 1, and pass. Oh, I don't like this, but I don't think we're going to get there on the resources I have. I need this Glimpse to pay me. Could just die to Omniscience right now. But still, I needed this Glimpse to pay me. Red in the pool. Sneak attack is the game plan this time. Or show and tell with red floating. That's even worse. That means they're going to put in sneak attack and annihilate me immediately. Yep. Here she comes, the big Emrakul mother. Yeah, there might have been a 1000 IQ option to just not put anything in, because I suspected this was going to happen, but if they put in Grizzlebrand instead, then I definitely want the extra mana. And now I have to find a mana source to even get back off the ground. Oh, we're so dead. This is the worst matchup on the planet. Just saying. Reanimator at least exists on this axis where your pile of endurances and Thoughtseizes can hit them from 2 directions. Sneak attack, literally all you have is 4 Thoughtseizes, and they have 8 counterspells to counter your Thoughtseizes, and they're a faster goldfish than you. And I still don't have any mana. Okay, they're activating sneak attack. Sweet relief. Okay. We managed to lose to the worst matchup. Maybe I'm supposed to mulligan to 5 looking for Thoughtseize there. Maybe I'm supposed to glimpse and just take my 1 card and start trying to get the wheels turning somehow. But you can see how awful that matchup is. Yikes. For the absolute best Magic the Gathering apparel on the market, check out the link in the video description to coalesceapparel.shop, and be sure to use the code BoshNRoll for 10% off when you check out. I'm on the draw for the final round. Trying to salvage half your money back here. Negative record is already locked. My hand is pretty good. I have the Shepherd Glimpse. Looks like we're playing against Shadow, though. A deck with discard and removal and a quick clock. But Allosaurus Shepherd, if they are not able to snuff it, will dominate this game. As it tends to do, quite frankly. Daze it, daze it. Nope, they knew better. Disappointing. We're fetching down to 14. What do we got here? A Thoughtseize plus Death Shadow. Thoughtseize snuff out Death Shadow. Oh my god. Him to Turok. Alright, don't hit my lands. Alright, hit Glimpse and Craterhoof, which are genuinely the best 2 cards. If that was not a random discard, those are the 2 cards I would have chosen to discard. That was pretty great. Okay. I can Zenith for something like Wirewood Symbiote right now and try to set up a big next turn, which I've been punished for trying to set up next turns all league. But I still think it's probably the right way to go. X equals 1. Can't be countered unless you have Snuff Out, then it can be countered. And I do like Symbiote better than a second copy of Shepherd, because Symbiote can draw extra cards with Glimpse. Yeah, Symbiote, get in here. I know they are a deck that wants to be at 13 life, but I am a deck that kills with damage, so I'm still taking my 1 point here. Death Shadow is such a fun card. In this week, I have 2 Shadow decks getting released. One with ninjas and one with Dreadnought. Just a lot of fun play patterns around that one. 2 Shadows. Here they are. Okay. Well, I can't counter my stuff. I lightning rodded the Snuff Out. Drew a creature. Glimpse of Nature. Let's try to rip it here. I'm going to start with the second Shepherd to make sure I don't get BTFO'd by a counterspell along the way. 2 Nettle Sentinels. If the top card of my deck is Heritage Druid, we might just draw our deck this turn. Llanowar Elves is not that. And I think Llanowar Elves is a better investment than another Nettle Sentinel. Most of what Nettle Sentinel does can be done in the turn where it's cast, and doesn't matter if it has Summoning Sickness. Alright. These are the cards that I have. I am threatening a Shepherd activation next turn from 2 different sources of Sheps. They would have to go to 3 life this turn for this attack to be lethal. Or 1 dress down also kills me, because they both become 13/13s. They have a Thoughtseize. Okay. This does 2 of the 6 damage they needed to do to themselves. There's 12 damage coming my way. Ponder. Okay. That doesn't do any damage to you. Goes to shuffle. Love to see it. Wasteland. Shit. Okay. Hate to see it. That's gone. Now they don't need to one-shot me on board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am not blocking these. I'll take it. And I'll just draw another Cradle and win. I'm on deck. Other Cradle and win. Like I said. Does that work? It's pretty close. If I play Heritage Druid first, go 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is lethal. Thanks for playing. Wait, is this lethal? I might have talked shit too early. 1, 2, 3. Nettle Sentinel. Nope, it's not lethal. I talked shit too early. I can attack for 5. This turn did not make any sense. Yeah, I can activate it. I'm 1 attacker short. Whoops. Yep. Played it perfectly. Yeah, I could have just cast these 2 things without doing the weird Nettle Sentinel. Just tap my 2 lands and put these cards into play. That would have made so much more sense than what I actually did. Okay. What can I do now that I'm sitting here with all this mana floating? I put them to 2. Then I'm super dead. I have to block 2 things here. Okay, I fucked this up. Yeah, I had 0 untap effects. If an untap effect wins this game, Nettle Sentinel already in play wins the game. Yeah, I should have just tapped my 2 lands and put my 2 creatures into play and invest in next turn. Bad, bad, bad. Fetch land. Both of these are lethal with fetch land. If they go too low, then the backswing is lethal. I'm certainly in the abyss here. And they are taking it. I'll block with Shepherd and Nettle Sentinel. Or if I block with both Shepherds, I have 6 to swing back with. Is that where I'm supposed to be? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I really wish I had Llanowar Elves untapped here, but I played bad instead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, what do I think will lead to a more successful game here? Counterable spells with Heritage Druid and 2 Sentinels in play, or 1 Sentinel and a Shepherd still around? Okay, I'm gonna go 1 and 1. I wish I could block with Sentinel and Llanowar Elves, but, you know, punted. Delphal Strix. Yeah, that's why I didn't leave the 2 Sentinels back. They wouldn't make that attack if they were dead on board. Okay, Cradle for the win, please. I don't deserve it, but I'll take it. Visionary. So I start by just casting that. Doesn't make sense to invest my blockers in mana if I don't need them. Cradle's a good draw. Symbiote's a good draw. Any Zenith effect is a good draw. That's a blocker. Okay. We are back in the game here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I still have to block 2 things. I'll probably block with Visionary and Dryad Arbor and leave all my elves in play. Here's the attack. Here's the fetch. Here's the Arbor. Here's a block. Losing Arbor here makes Quirion Ranger a worse draw because that could block forever. But there's only 2 of those in the list. I'm not going to play to that. Cradle off the top. I'm not going to play to Quirion Ranger. My deck heard me. And it did not like what I said. Yeah, remember that Dryad Arbor? That could block forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope. Oh, wait. I have shit. I just fucked this up again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Untap 6. Attack with 2 creatures. I forgot that Ranger has other text. This is off the rails. I'm sorry, Michael. I should be playing tighter than this. I'm not showcasing your deck properly. I've passed combat now, but 1, 2, 3 off Heritage Druid. 4 off Llanowar Elves, 5 off this forest, untap Llanowar Elves with the forest, replay the forest, activate, put them to 1. Still not lethal, but it was there, kind of. Oh, that was bad. And being in the double abyss here with no tricks available to me. I think I have to lose my Shepherd now. The hope of ever activating that is basically gone. And that'll Sundal. The one that has to die now. I think so. I think having large quantities of mana is my only hope. Come on, good card. Endurance, that's interesting. Don't know if it's good, but it's interesting. It's not good or interesting, actually. Okay, we're dead. We had a couple turns to draw there, and I did not play perfectly. I don't think doing the math pre-combat last turn would have actually won me the game, but that was rough. Plague Engineers come in, Chokes come in. This is a Murktide deck. They have a lot of black creatures, but they also have Murktide Regent. Maybe I just let Endurance handle that, or just combo through it. Don't think I'm going to Thoughtseize them. Yeah, maybe I just have to let Grist handle Murktide if that becomes a thing. And the Once Upon a Times. Here is my deck. Plague Engineer can name Bird or Human to deal with Strix or Delver, and then it's just a Death Touch body that can deal with Death Shadow without getting snuffed out. That one was really close. I'm on the play with a pretty clunky one, but I can Zenith for Arbor to get it going. I'm going to do it. I'm going to fetch a basic, because as a Snuff Out Wasteland deck, this line already has some concerns. Arbor's in play. It's not Wasteland. Could still be Snuff Out. Fatal Push. Didn't even need to snuff me. Just had an actual normal removal spell. That's cheating. Another Zenith. I'll get the other Arbor, because that's the play that's available to me now. They should smell blood, because if I could have played around Daze with this, I would have. Oh wow, Force of Will. Pitching Force of Will. Deal. I'll take that over a Daze for sure. They're getting hymned here. What's going on? Powder Keg. That will be a pain in my tuchus in the future. And by in the future, I mean literally next turn. Okay, I have a plan to play to. This does not say non-land on it. Okay, so I can run this Heritage Druid out here. Get them to up their keg. Because if they... You know what? There's so much removal in your deck that it doesn't even matter. If they just pop their keg and kill my Dryad Arbor, they got me. But just floating this on 1 makes it really hard to win the game. They did go up to 1. They didn't want to take the hyper-aggressive line there. Another Fatal Push, yep. I'm going to have to choke them to win the game. And in order to do that, I'll need to start drawing lands. We did it. We did it. Heritage Druid, get in there. Firewood Symbiote, get in there. I'm going to try to overload this Powder Keg into a place where they have to pop it. Symbiote means that I can protect the elf if they pop, or I can just run headlong into Daze, but that still distracts them from the Powder Keg. That's still a 1-for-1, which Keg still is, and that counterspell still is. The worst thing that could happen is if they play Murktide Regent right now. Best thing that could happen is if they just pass the turn, or they like spend this turn casting some cantrips, and then I shove Choke. That's what needs to happen. Okay. There's that card. Cool. I drew the mana for Choke. That'll show you. Okay, successfully choked my opponent. They have me dead in 3 hits, so I get 2 draw steps, and Powder Keg can wrath my board. In the meantime, I need to draw Grist and have a creature that doesn't cost 1 to sacrifice to Grist. Oh my god. This is not going well. If I draw a 1-drop and can get a Glimpse Chain going, that's the start of hopes and dreams. Is there still 1 Endurance in my deck that can block for a turn, or am I just off that completely? Okay, Glimpse of Nature. Heritage Druid. Should probably pop here. They did not. Okay. Second Glimpse. Shepherd. They have to pop now. If the Shepherd gets into play and I can float 3, they might lose. Draw, draw. They're thinking about it. They're deciding, yeah, okay, you better. Okay, Shepherd comes in. I can fetch my Bayou, go to effectively 1, and get 2 more draws here. All right, Shep, let's go. Ding, ding. And we're in there with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Okay, I am dead on the next hit, but I'm extremely well set up to try to make a run at this from 1 life. Fingers crossed. Okay, I'm at 1. Can I draw a Glimpse? Or a Heritage Druid? Or a Zenith of some kind? Or the Grist? Okay. We're doing it. Metal Sentinel. And Elvish Visionary 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this works. Visionary, I still have enough mana to Grist. Grist will still be uncounterable. And I get to draw a card on the way through. Boseiju. Are you helpful to me in any capacity? I don't think so. Grist already cannot be countered. They have 1 million creatures in play that I'm happy sacrificing. They're fetching in response. They have 2 Snuff Outs. Is that what's going on right now? Emergency Brainstorm in response to 2 Snuff Outs. Okay, Emergency Brainstorm is the start. If they can Snuff Force, they do actually win here. Maybe I'm supposed to attack first, because Snuff Force, they would die. If I played Boseiju, I could have played around Snuff Daze. But please just don't have all of exactly that. How about that? Or Grist can resolve and we're chilling. I may sacrifice a creature. I'll sacrifice Elvish Visionary and destroy Murktide Regent. Oh yeah! Put that one on the highlight reel. Did what we had to do, which was draw Grist. Snuff Outs are in my sideboard, but again, they only kill the Murktides, which is probably a 2 of in the deck. And like we saw, Murktide is beatable. Air quotes beatable. I did not have any endurances in the deck that could have blocked it for a turn. Alright, whatever. Same deck. It worked last time, that means it's perfect, right? Okay, double Shepherd hand with Symbiote. Soft a Wasteland, but I'm ready to go here. I'm gonna mold to 5. We're chasing the goods. I'm gonna Boseiju first. I care about that less as a card than I do about Bayou. I'm gonna immediately put their counterspells in check. Another land. Are we getting hymned? What's going on? Fetch, fetch. Him, it is. Him took Symbiote Birchlore. Was pretty good. I'm still functioning, but that was solid. Oh. GG, maybe? Another perfectly reasonable game of Magic stolen by the horse hockey that is Choke. I guess they could Snuff a Shepherd, so I don't have 3 mana here. But they did not. Nice Hymn to Turok. Thanks for playing. Be sure to tip your waitress. I'm here all week. Bang. Okay. How does the Death Shadow deck that mulled to 5 come back from this? They fetch shock, play a shadow, hope it holds? Or they concede the game. Nice. Okay. This build of the deck, I do love glimpsing. I do love a fast glimpse. We did have some glimpses from dire situations, and the deck was built to leverage them. Leaf Crown Visionary soloed at least 1 game by itself. That was cool. I did miss Natural Order and the ability to change my plan up versus the 2 tempo decks we played against, Delver and Death Shadow. We got pretty fortunate to just draw uncounterable chokes in 2 of the games against Death Shadow. Delver showed us why Glimpse can be risky as your only plan, because they're really good at constricting your various resources that are required to glimpse effectively. Even without natural order, though, this is still elf combo. You still get all the tricks. We did do some Quirion Ranger stuff, some Symbiote stuff, Dryad Arbor stuff, Allosaurus Shepherd. There's lots of little tricks on board for the discerning Magic player who wants to learn them. The redundancy and resiliency of the 5 Zenith on top of Once Upon a Time and all these elves that get your engine going was pretty solid. I do have to say that despite supporting Michael's choices in deck building here, the natural order, even just 2 or 3 copies, is very cheap deck building wise, because you're playing a top end green idiot anyway. You lose like endurance, the finale, and I think this has 1 more lands than most elves decks do. I think most are on 18 and this one's on 19. Just trying to figure out where these slots went. But Allosaurus Shepherd making your spells uncounterable. Turn 1 Allosaurus Shepherd, turn 3 natural order is frequently GG. Especially in Atraxa, post-Atraxa world, there's some cool stuff you can do with natural order in addition to Hoof and Progenitus. I'm all for exploring different builds with a deck that explore different theories of that deck, but I think that Elves is just such a tight package that can do both. I'm always talking about get you a deck that can do both, and leaning into one at the expense of doing both, which is a pretty low expense. I don't know if I agree with it, but there are metagames, I suppose, where if blue opponents are hostile against Allosaurus Shepherd, that's a world where I would rather not expose myself with a natural order, because it's a 2-for-1 if it gets countered. It's a 2-for-1 just to cast it. And if your shepherds aren't reliably sticking, then and you need to get scrappy, like we did win a number of scrappy games without comboing off. If your metagame is subject to grinding into those board states, I could see a world where this makes some sense. But even in those matchups, you could ward out your natural orders. I'm a tough sell on this approach to the deck, but I'm not going to rag on it too hard. We did win some games, despite me not playing perfectly. We had some heinous matchups, just Saga Storm and Sneak and Show in the same league when we're on the forceless green deck. Maybe those opponents should pick on someone their own size. How about that? In a fair metagame, though, it's hard to go wrong with most builds of Elves. Michael, thank you for sharing this with us. It was fun to play. Everyone else, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out the Patreon and the sponsors that support the channel, and I'll see you next time.